Joelle Marquis is the chair of Recovering Clay, which is a new initiative to centralize all the little satellite fundraisers in the county into one central distribution point. So Joelle, thank you very much for being with us today and for sharing us this presentation.
Thanks, Andre. Good morning. We all fit together so nicely because he put the agenda together. So. You want to kill the lights, Andre, there? They don't need to see me this early in the morning that brightly. So I want to just take a minute and share a little bit about myself because almost nobody in this room knows me. I'm not with any local organization. I'm a business person and I focus on kind of two things. In my day job, I'm a partner in a private equity firm, which means we buy companies, we grow them, and we sell them. And we've probably acquired over 100 companies at this point. I've been doing that for 14 years. But my husband and I also take kind of the knowledge of buying and selling and apply it locally here. So we buy homes that are distressed in the community, that are the eyesore on your street, that everybody drives by and says, oh God, please let somebody mow that lawn one day or paint that house or clean up that fence. We buy those. We have a team of people. We go in, we rehab the houses, and then we sell them and we donate the profits from that back to the community. So that's my husband's day job, if you will. It doesn't pay him a dime, but that's one of the things we do. And so I know a number of folks in the community. I have a huge passion around these disasters. I get out, anybody who knows me knows I get out there as soon as the sun comes up with a crew of people who are just friends, families, neighbors, and we're out there with chainsaws. I got chaps this year for the fall. For anybody who doesn't know what those are like these big honking things you wear that protect your legs when you use a chainsaw. And my husband sent me a picture. I wasn't home, of a huge helmet. He got me a chainsaw helmet. He said, you know, jewelry's overrated. So those are two presents I got in the last 2 months that I was super pumped about. But the disaster with Irma, I think, is absolutely tragic. I've had a number of friends, family members, neighbors affected by it. We have been out for a month straight working to help people, but you can only do what you can do as individuals. So one of the things we've been talking about amongst the small group is how do we recover as a community? Lots of people are doing things. There's no one silver bullet. There's no one, wonderful organization who can fix everything for us. So we did identify the fact that there really isn't a long-term recovery group in the county, and so we've been talking with other counties that have long-term recovery groups in place already to go to school really fast and get up to speed, but it's having organizations like this already in place that have helped us get traction really, really quickly. So I want to share with you this morning kind of what we've done so far and what we expect to do so that you know what's going on in parallel to the efforts that you guys are implementing in your organizations. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'm going to school as fast on this as possible. I do have an amazing group of people that I'm working with. They're all volunteering their time and energy. So we're calling the group Recovering Clay. And it's really an integrated community project. I mean, we're looking for all parts of the community to come together for this effort. And unfortunately, post-Irma, is that all right if I walk around a little bit? It's way too early for me to be sitting still. Post-Irma, we are finding that we had more than 1,300 homes that were flooded in Irma, and almost 500 of those are irreparable. And unfortunately, people were either underinsured or had no insurance in our community. And I'm sure lots of you have heard those stories. So Recovering Clay started because Representative Cummings and Senator Bradley asked they were interested in doing some fundraising to help people recovering, and they asked, how will that money be distributed? If we raise some money, what happens to it? We don't want it to go to organizations, we really want it to go to individuals. So that was a defining step all by itself, is that the funds were earmarked for individual relief. And they asked around, actually their pastor to identify somebody who could organize a group of people that were trustworthy, could help decide what the criteria were going to be, and identify who would receive the allocations. I have no idea how that pastor got my name, but I'm now working with that committee. So we put a committee of people together. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself, hang on. Okay, so that's where we came from. So Recovering Clay is really and truly an integrated project. I mean, we've been talking to lots of the nonprofit organizations in the county. No desire to repeat what any of you are already doing. That would be a waste of time and energy. And it's about helping our neighbors recover and restore within our community. And like I said, it's about helping them with the unmet needs at an individual level. And we're working hard as an allocations team to make sure that we're applying the funds very strategically. So where we are today, Recovering Clay is an extension of Mercy Support Services. They're obviously a 501c3. I think everybody in the room is familiar with them. And their mission is getting the right people, getting the right help to people in need. I should know that. I'm also on the Mercy board. Where's Patrick? I'm embarrassing him now that I don't know that off the top of my head. So we're part of Mercy Support Services. We're connected with them. I'm going to talk to you in a minute about some of the ways that Mercy is going to be helping with this effort. We've got a website. I think we're up and live, right? Okay, the website is in the bottom right corner there, www.recoveringclay.org. Mark, for all of your amazing work. Thank you, Sophie, for your work on that. These folks are amazing, and nobody wants to answer my phone call when I call. Right?
That's not true.
Because everything's like, can I have it by Friday at noon? Yes, it is. So far we have 3 teams in place. We have a triage team that's being assembled. Right, Patrick? He answered my phone call. We have a triage team that's being assembled, and Mercy Support Services, since in its day job, in what I call blue sky times, has a call center and has people who help the case manager. We use the term care coaches. They're going to be the intake. They're going to handle kind of the front end triage for the individuals who call. And they'll walk them through the process as best they can. They're going to receive training from FEMA. I don't know when the training is scheduled, but it'll get scheduled soon. We're looking for some volunteers. We're looking for volunteer case managers, volunteers to work on the call center there, to be available for intake. They, just like you guys, they have their staff, they're fully staffed for the normal intake. This is going to be above and beyond, just like it is for everybody in this room. We've got above and beyond demand. So anybody that knows resources that could help them, that would be greatly appreciated. The second team we have, Patrick, is there anything you want to say about that? No. Okay. An allocations team, I've mentioned that already. A team of, I think we're 12 now. People from within the community. We built that team of people very, very intentionally. We did our best to determine what kind of skill sets and what kind of knowledge and competencies would be most useful in making decisions about where these allocations go. So we have people on there for housing. We have people on there who know code enforcement. We have people on there we have John Ward from emergency management, so that there's hopefully a very smooth transition from the emergency response to the recovery component. So the allocations team has been established, and we kick a small section of that off for the first time tomorrow. And then there's a fundraising team. The fundraising effort right now that all of you are in the midst of, I'm sure, with at least the calendar year end here, one of the questions that was raised to us is, is this going to start to conflict with fundraising that we all have going on in the fourth quarter of the calendar? Our commitment is not to interfere with the local fundraising that's going on by other nonprofits at this point. Our effort is permanently not to compete, but at this point, we know all of you are doing special fundraising, trying to make a push, so ours is going to be above and beyond. The best analogy that was shared with me is if you go to church and they pass the whatever they pass, a bucket, a pan, a dish, a hat, you make your normal donation, and then oftentimes the leader asks for, makes an announcement that there's going to be an additional donation, but it's above and beyond your typical giving. That's the kind of pledge we'll be asking people to make, above and beyond what they would be doing otherwise. We have a concert that is scheduled for November 11th. It is, the Van Zant brothers will be there, Donnie and Johnny of Leonard Skinner and 38 Special. Yeah, tickets are on sale. They just went on sale. And Donnie from Molly Hatchet, and there'll be a tribute band there for Tom Petty. And two others. It's at Thrasher Horn on the 11th at 7 p.m. Should be really cool. Anyway, so they are donating. They've got sponsorships. I had nothing to do with this. They have sponsorships. They've got the band donating their time. They're going to make collections during the concert. They're going to raffle off a guitar. I mean, the guys are really into this. So, and Recovering Clay is going to be the recipient of most of their funds. They're going to make a couple of other smaller donations. Mark?
The events page on the recoveringclay.org website has the buy tickets for that concert.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's, who's into that kind of music. I'm like kind of sort of a music person, but not so much. But I sent a text out the other night. I sold 22 tickets in like 2 hours to friends and family. So we've got a concert. We've also got individuals who have been reaching out. I think somebody asked that question earlier, where are individual dollars going? It's my understanding so far that most of the individual and group donations that have been made have gone to the Salvation Army because they've been been used for response. That was a decision that needed to be made early on, and that should start to switch over now to going to Recovering Clay. So we've got individual donations. I've gotten donations from family that live up north, and hopefully people in our community will reach beyond their local network to family members, to coworkers, whomever we know outside the state of Florida, to ask them to make contributions as well. And at some point we'll also we'll be researching grants. We have a couple of volunteer grant writers who Janie's offered her assistance, and Sophie's going to be working on grant writing. So hopefully we'll have some additional funds through grant writing. I think Deirdre shared that graph that had all the bars across it, the second slide she put up, that kind of showed where the long-term recovery fits in the flow of things, and we're right at the bottom. And we're even at the bottom of the bottom in our own chart. So the triage and coaching would take place at Mercy with the call center and the folks there being kind of triaged, if you will. The next step would be FEMA dollars and SBA dollars, as you've heard this morning. If there are local government dollars available, we are going to be trying to make sure that people tap into those. Obviously, we want to make sure people are continuing to partner with the nonprofits, the members of the Clay Safety Net, and then as a last stop, the allocations team will assess whether, based on criteria, whether or not we will be able to help the individuals. Any questions on that slide? All right. So you can't read that, but it says an invitation to be involved. I have no specific ask of you today. This is literally our first kickoff. It's the first outside of a small office conversation we're having about Recovering Clay. So I would just ask you, to remember that we're not competing for your dollars. This is an integrated effort. We'd love to work with people. We would love to partner with you and send the right people to you. Fortunately, Mercy knows well all of the services and offerings that the folks in the room provide. So I feel like we'll be able to steer folks in the right direction very early on in their search process. And one of the commitments that I have is to make sure that whatever we put together for recovering clay, it's repeatable, so that we can reuse this if, God forbid, we have another disaster, whether it's a fire or some other thing where we may change the players at the table, but where we can just kind of pick this up and update it for the situation and get going right away. So some ways you can help. Obviously, if someone wants to make a donation, but that's frankly not there for you guys. Tonight I'm giving a similar presentation at Mercy Support Services Gala event, and I'm going to, after all the checks for Mercy are written, make a separate appeal for contributions to recovering clay. Yeah, that'll go over well. To Recovering Clay. So check out the website if for no other reason to see Mark's amazing work. Partner with us in whatever ways you can think of. I don't have a laundry list of those today. And contact us to learn more. And this is an evolving process. If I haven't made that clear, let me say that one more time. It's a very much an evolving process. So, questions?
My question is, if an
I love your blouse, by the way.
It's
beautiful.
If an organization, nonprofit, wanted to have an event, which we're having an event in December, I'm sorry, and we wanted to donate some of our proceeds, our cost profits to you, is that okay?
No, we don't take money from just anybody.
No.
Absolutely. Oh, we would be honored. We would be honored. Absolutely. Absolutely.
In your process here, I don't know if I missed it or not, but you talked about collecting money and allocation and all that fun stuff. And then you have case management. What's the design for clients once they get through your case management? Are you doing and connecting with construction people? Are you using volunteers? Are you leading up to the clients? How are you dealing with that?
We're gonna learn that. We're gonna figure that out. We are still going to school on the other what the other counties are doing for long-term recovery. So we'll have answers to that very concretely, but the dollars are intended for the individuals, but that we may be paying a contractor on behalf of an individual. Is that your question? I want to make sure I'm answering the question as best I can. So are we going to be working on behalf of the individual or paying on behalf of the individual? Okay. I expect that the case managers, the care coaches, will follow them all the way through. And then they will be the ones saying, look, this should go to our allocations committee. There are no other sources of income. And then at that point, the team will assess whether or not, and the call center will have access to the team of specialists all the time. And so by the time it gets there, we'll obviously have specialists around the table to opine on the situation, and then whether the check gets written to the individual or it gets written to a contractor on their behalf, we're open to both of those as options.
Yeah, because one of the things that takes place is the fact that these people have been so affected in the stress and all that and so on. Oftentimes, those people cannot make good decisions when it comes to money, and therefore I just wanted to see where you were in your process and thoughts on how you would deal with that end of it.
Yeah, I think there's two things that we've been very sensitive to. One is that people are stressed, first and foremost, and sometimes they don't make good decisions. So people are here to help guide them through. I keep pointing over here because Patrick's over here and some of the people who are going to be doing this work are sitting over here. They're going to be trained in the process, and it has to be, there has to be a system for them to walk through. So the sensitivity of their emotional state, making poor decisions. One of the other things that we talked about is that rebuilding, for instance, might not be the best option for everybody. If you've got the example that somebody from one of the other long-term recovery areas shared with me is if you've got an 85-year-old and they want to use the money to rebuild their home, there may be better options at that point in their lives. And so, helping them to think about those kinds of solutions. Does that answer it?
The question I have, are you seeking 501c3 status? I was just wondering, because you were talking about grant writing and just,
It's Mercy's 501c3 status. This is a project underneath Mercy.
Questions may have already been asked and answered, but the rest of them called. My questions are, one, have you had contact with churches that are raising money? And the second question is, have you went to social media for a GoFundMe page for Clay County type thing and see what you get?
Yeah, so those are great questions, and I probably will remember one at a time, so I might have to come back to you for the second one after I answer the first one, assuming I can still remember that one. So churches, one of the two people on our committee are from churches, and when I was telling you that we have a fundraising team, we've got 4 or 5 people meeting next week to build an architecture to figure out how to do fundraising for this. Like, what specific kinds of things do we want to try to do? How do we do it in a way that doesn't compete with others? And what kinds of efforts do we feel we need to do ourselves, and what kinds of things can we reach out to others to do on our behalf? Because speed is an element here, right? We've got to move quickly. Ideally, we would have been doing this a couple weeks ago. So yes to the churches, and that will be a very specific item in the plan. We've got the team meeting next week. I suspect the team will get to action later next week. That's what we need to do. And your second question was about a GoFundMe. Social media, yes. I mean, we're definitely going to be out with social media. We can only go as fast as we have resources for, though. So, we'll be piggybacking with Facebook pages and things like that. A GoFundMe account, I think this will be a version of a GoFundMe account, not a direct GoFundMe account, because GoFundMe takes a chunk of the money. So this will be our own version of it. People can distribute requests. They can direct people to this, to the website for donations. And so, yes, there will be a big social media push, but we're going to use other networks to get a lot of that done. Things that are already up and running. Yeah.
how are you finding the individuals that need help? Are you going through a database from FEMA, someone that was affected? There's a lot of people on my street that are all elders. I grew up on the street, so I'm like the youngest one there.
Uh-huh.
I moved back home.
And now you're everybody's daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't have internet, they don't have the tech savvy.
Yeah.
So how is everyone in churches recovering, like finding these people?
So through the churches, we want to get the word out through the churches, through the non-for-profits, because a lot of the nonprofits are touching these people anyway, and through the Emergency Operations Center. They've got a lot of statistics. There's a big database. So if they've made a phone call.
Main roads, like I'm off of Lazy Acre, which is right on the water. So they're going to these main roads and going forward or
Right now, we're going to get the information from the Emergency Ops Center tomorrow. We have John Ward meeting with us, so we'll know, what we do know, and we'll know what we don't know, and figure out how to get more information on the things we don't know for locations for people.
I think one of the things that you hit upon was the churches, and I would think that probably, I would say almost all churches know the victims within their own church.
Yep, absolutely. And we want to partner with the churches. Right after the storm, there was a group of, Andre, was it 12 pastors from the various churches came together to talk about some quick reactive measures that they could take, and they were in communication. So we're going to continue to tap into that group of pastors also, and hopefully expand that exponentially, actually.
Yes, and I'm very happy that some of the storm survivors are here to be able to, you fill out these sign-in sheets, and just, you can be a representative that we can contact. And I know there's also a Facebook page, Middleburg Recovery Homer page, that we get the word out through the social media as well. So it would be good to have key people that we can use as spokespeople in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so you have a voice on their behalf by filling out some of that information, putting some of the information on those sheets. And the other thing I want to just mention is that, so we've got this fundraising concert on the 11th, I had nothing to do with it, I'll say that again. On the 11th is the concert, this amazing group of people is responsible for coordinating it. That will supply us a nice chunk of funds, and 3 weeks from today was the date that Representative Cummings and Senator Bradley said that they would have raised $100,000 to get this started. So in 3 weeks, we'll have those funds. Ernie?
Let me just take a minute. I think that, this recovering clay effort is a phenomenal effort for our community, obviously. Joelle has become the driving force behind this. Not sure if she was all in at the beginning, but she's certainly all in now. And I've been approached to be a part of this this initiative, and I'm honored to do that. So I just think that we owe Joelle and the entire group a tremendous thanks to the community.
Thanks, but we got to get on the other side of this first. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Mark?
Just a real quick one. There's a quote on the Clay Safety Net page that is totally applicable to here. It says, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." And I love the fact that you brought up, that's a quote from Ellen Keller, the churches. And there's a couple hundred churches in Clay County, and they all have X number of volunteers willing to help out. Can you imagine if we could get those churches in this room? So instead of having 200 little pockets of 10 people each, we pick up 2,000 volunteers to really make a difference and push this recovery ahead. So the bottom line is, could you invite all your pastors and youth pastors to this session so that we can make a bigger impact and a faster impact? Thank you.
Ooh, anybody want to follow that with a question? Thanks, Mark.